Kingdom Come Deliverance 2's success shouldn't be possible. No fantasy dragons, no cluttered map full of icons, no hand-holding that treats you like you've never played a game before. It's the opposite of what every major publisher says you need to do to win the open-world RPG market. But Warhorse Studios just proved the entire industry wrong. And the reason why? It's not passion, it's not luck, it's not some indie underdog story, it's a calculated business strategy that most AAA studios are too terrified to attempt. I'm a strategy consultant who breaks down the real business decisions behind gaming's biggest moves. And today, I'm showing you a strategic playbook that turned a niche medieval sim into a breakout hit and why this changes everything for RPG development. If you enjoy this content, please do drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Your support means everything. Now, to understand what Warhorse did, you need to understand the problem they were trying to solve. Let's look at Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Ubisoft spent over $200 million creating a 100+ hour Viking epic with every feature focus groups said players wanted, resulting in 8 million units sold. By traditional metrics, that is a massive success. However, only 24% of players finished it. That means over 6.4 million people bought it, played for 10 to 15 hours and never came back. This is what I call the mass market death spiral. Publishers chase the largest possible audience by adding features that appeal to everyone. Quest markers for casual players, difficulty sliders for accessibility, hundreds of collectibles for completionists, and romance options for the romantics. The result? A game that tries to be everything to everyone and ends up being nothing special to anyone. Here's why this is not just a design problem, but a business problem. You see, with a total investment of 300 million, the break-even threshold would have been approx 7 million units after taking into account platform fees, resulting in a catastrophically thin margin of error. Now, Valhalla eventually reached $1 billion in revenue, but nearly half of it came from DLC and microtransactions sustained by pandemic-era player retention. The DLC and microtransactions heavy revenue numbers meant that Ubisoft was now dependent on player retention for 12 to 18 months post-launch to hit their targets. But remember that 24% completion rate? Most players are gone within 20 hours. They're not buying DLC or microtransactions. Ubisoft was spending millions to develop post-launch content for a shrinking player base. But there's a deeper problem the industry doesn't want to talk about. Players just aren't finishing games anymore. The open world RPG has an average of 25% completion rate. That means 75% have never seen the ending you spend millions creating. This creates a compromise cascade where games look to chase mass market. This ends up diluting their value proposition, resulting in less player engagement and game completion rates. With less engaged core players, word of mouth is essentially shot, requiring extensive marketing spends, inflating budgets. The more you try to appeal to everyone, the less anyone cares. And when no one cares deeply enough to finish your game, you lose the most valuable marketing asset in gaming: passionate players who tell their friends. And we've seen this play out repeatedly when the formula doesn't work. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, $200 million loss, dead within 3 months. Starfield, $400 million investment, a mixed reception, and a collapsed player count. The mass market strategy only works if you hit massive scale and retain players long enough to monetize them post-launch, like in Fortnite. You miss either target and the entire investment evaporates. This is the environment Warhorse Studios was operating in when they started developing KCD2. KCD1 had a completion rate of 47%, which is nearly double the average open-world RPG. Players who stuck with it played for 65+ hours. The Reddit community was obsessively engaged, and Steam reviews were overwhelmingly positive. Most devs would look at 6 million units and say, how do we get to 15? This creates two choice points: Path A, where they chase mass markets, or Path B, where they deepen their core audience. Warhorse looked at this data and asked a different question: what if we made it more hardcore? This is called strategic market segmentation. Instead of trying to appeal to everyone, you identify the specific customer segment that values what you do best, and you go all in serving them better than anyone else possibly could. This comes with creating a persona of the ideal customer. KCD2 was going to target the hardcore RPG enthusiasts and maybe the history/simulation fans. They weren't targeting casual players, they were targeting the player who complains that modern RPGs are too easy and don't need quest markers. The player who will spend 80+ hours mastering a combat system if it's deep enough. And then they designed every system to filter out everyone else. the combat system based on directional inputs and realistic stamina management, the navigation system with no mini-map, just a compass and NPCs who give general directions to objectives, requiring players to pay attention because getting lost is part of the experience. A painful progression system requires you to get skilled, creating a mastery loop which feels earned. There are no shortcuts or level scaling here to ease the experience. Even the save system is limited, thereby preventing saves coming. This creates a tension where consequences feel permanent and your decisions, good or bad, have weight. Creating such a game filters out most players. So let's say initial interest was 10 million, post-marketing 50% drop-off, review and gameplay showcase the lack of hand-holding and results in only 3 million of the 10 now willing to try. In actuality, KCD2 went on to sell 2 million copies in the first week itself. Most publishers would see this funnel and panic. Warhorse would probably see it and smile, because those 2 million players who make it through, they're not just playing the game, they're evangelizing it. Valhalla's 300 million investment needed DLC-driven revenue to reach 1 billion, while KCD2 achieved profitability at 2 million on a 60 million cost basis. Warhorse's break-even is 80% lower than Ubisoft's. They didn't need pandemic-level engagement, they didn't need 12 months of DLC releases to get profitable, they didn't need to hit 8 million units. They needed 2 million hardcore players willing to pay full price. And because their game is designed specifically for that audience, their completion rate will likely be 50% or higher. Let's compare the revenue models. The mass market approach with Valhalla generated 20 million units at an average of $27.5 per unit after discounts and platform fees, which equates to 550 million in base game revenue along with another 450 million in DLC and microtransactions. The focused market model for KCD2 had around 3 million units at $50 average, which equals about 150 million in base game revenue. With a $60 million investment, they're looking at 80 to 90 million in profit from base sales alone. Add the new DLCs and this creates another 30 to 40 million dollars. Total profit, potentially 110 to 130 million on a $60 million investment. That's an ROI of 180% compared to Valhalla's 233, which required perfect pandemic timing and 12 months of aggressive monetization. Warhorse can achieve comparable ROI with 85% fewer sales and zero dependency on microtransactions. This is the power of strategic focus, lower risk, higher margins, sustainable profitability, and you're not burning out your team trying to create content for players who have already moved on to the next game. And Warhorse isn't alone. We're seeing a pattern emerge. Baldur's Gate 3 with Larian Studios had a $100 million budget, not $300 million, and was designed specifically for CRPG enthusiasts, not the mass market. The result? 15 million units sold, 96% positive reviews, and a Game of the Year clean sweep. Elden Ring by FromSoft was notoriously difficult with zero hand-holding and designed for Souls fans. The result? 25 million units sold, a cultural phenomena that redefined open-world design. Lies of P, a AA budget game with Souls-like mechanics and a niche audience focus. The result? 7 million units, turning a massive profit with a sequel greenlit immediately. The industry is learning what Warhorse already knew. In a market oversaturated with safe, focus-tested, mass-market products, the real opportunity is serving underserved niches with excellence. There are millions of players who are tired of being treated like they need their hand held. They're tired of games that don't respect their time or their intelligence. They're tired of 100-hour checklists disguised as content. And they're willing to pay full price for games that respect them. That's a massive, profitable market segment that AAA publishers have been ignoring because they're too busy chasing Fortnite money. So what's the lesson for publishers, developers, and anyone building games in a competitive market? Step 1. Identify your core audience. Not everyone who plays RPGs, not gamers aged 18 to 35, your actual core audience. This requires proper persona mapping. For Warhorse, that was a hardcore RPG enthusiast who value historical authenticity, challenging systems, and immersive simulation over convenience. That's maybe 10% of the total RPG market, but it's a passionate, engaged, high-value 10%. Step 2. Design for that core audience exclusively. You design every system in the game to serve your core audience, even if it excludes everyone else. In fact, you should design it especially if it excludes everyone else. Every feature that doesn't serve your core audience is a feature that dilutes your value proposition. Quest markers don't make KCD2 more accessible, they make it less special to people who actually want to play it. Step 3. Accept the trade-offs. You will have lower sales than a mass market competitor. You will get reviews complaining about difficulty and lack of accessibility. Some players will refund after 2 hours. That's okay. You're trading breadth for depth, quantity for quality, initial sales for lifetime value. Step 4. Let your audience evangelize. When you serve a passionate niche exceptionally well, they become your marketing team. They create content, buy DLC, and convince their friends to try it. This is how Baldur's Gate 3 went from niche CRPG to Game of the Year. This is how Elden Ring became a cultural phenomenon. And this is how KCD2 is tracking to be 2025's biggest success stories. The mass market approach works if you're Rockstar with GTA 6 and an unlimited budget. For everyone else, strategic focus isn't just smarter, it's the only sustainable path forward. Come Deliverance 2 didn't win by accident. Warhorse Studios made a calculated bet that there was more value in serving 2 million hardcore players exceptionally well than trying to appeal to 20 million casual players adequately. And the market proved them right. This is the future of RPG development. Not chasing Fortnite's money. Not trying to out Ubisoft. Finding your niche, serving them better than anyone else possibly could, and building games on passionate, engaged communities. If you've made it this far, thank you. What do you think? Do RPGs need to identify and focus on their audience? Will KCD2's open world design inspire the next generation of RPGs? Let me know in the comments below. And if this analysis helped you see game development differently, subscribe for more strategic breakdowns of gaming's biggest success stories. Click here to see why Claire Obscure Expedition 33 is tracking to be the front runner for Game of the Year. And until next time,